Welcome back. This week, we're going to continue our conversation from last week on the difference between religion and relationship. Last week, we covered just my evolution from being strictly focused on religion into having a relationship with God, and how that felt for me, and the differences I could tell. We also defined what religion was and what a relationship is. And so we just covered all those different parts. And so I hope that you were blessed and you enjoyed last week. And I hope that you're blessed by and you enjoy this week. So stay tuned for part two. I feel like when I was at that point in time, when I like I said, when I was in college, and then also when I was at that point in time when I had the relationship, but then I kind of went reverted back to just religion. I feel like one of the biggest things that I was doing, that kind of woke me up to maybe this is what's missing, is that I was kind of like on autopilot. Um, I was just doing what I was supposed to do. Like I would wake up and I would read a devotional and I would say the same exact prayer every morning. And that prayer has started off just a way for me to cover all my bases, just to remember, oh, okay, I need to pray this and say that. And I just want to make sure I cover this person and all that. And it went from saying this prayer this way because I want to make sure that I don't miss anybody or anything, to just saying this prayer this way just because it's the easiest way to get through my morning prayers, because I know what to say. I know I'm gonna say the same thing every day the same way, and so I felt like I was on autopilot in that aspect. I felt like I was in autopilot because I would just read my Our Daily Bread in the morning, and then just read the scripture that goes along with it, and then leave it at that. So it was just no heart behind it. And so I think that that's the difference between, in religion, it's just kind of going through the motions, being on autopilot, doing what you're supposed to do, checking all the boxes, like I said, and being so focused on what you should do. And that's what I was. I was focused on what I should do, and what I could do, and what it looked like on the outside. Because I'm sure at that point in time in my life, everybody on the outside felt like, oh, she's good. She's going to church every Sunday. She's, doing this, that, and the other. She's married. She has a kid, and everything's going well. And, but I think that what was like, it was the heart that was missing. Because with religion, that's, because like I said, that's the way it is with religion. But with the relationship, with a relationship, it's intentionality. It's waking up in the morning and saying, and really coming to God like openly and honestly, and pouring out myself to him and leaving it all at his feet and making him a priority, and not something to just hurry up and rush through so that I can get to the next thing that I have to do that day. Excuse me. But I also feel like it's, instead of being focused on what I should be doing and focused on, how other people see me, when I'm in a relationship with God, I'm more focused on who he is and all he's done. And I'm more focused on him. And when my focus shifts to him, and I have intentionality with reaching out for him, and as it says in these verses, returning to him and drawing near to him, when I have that, then that's a relationship. And that is the real meat and potatoes of it, is because it's the posture of my heart is really focused on God and only God. And it's not focused on what other people think and making people feel like I have it all together. It's really literally focused on pleasing God, being with him, and enjoying my time with him. There are some mornings when I can spend, like right now, there is not a morning that I don't spend less than about an hour and a half in my prayer closet. Sometimes it's 2 hours. Sometimes it might be more. It depends on if I'm covering people, if it's people in my life that are going through things and I'm lifting them up in prayer, like that, they're going to, like, my prayer time might be longer. My morning time in my prayer closet might be longer. If I'm going through something, my prayer time might be longer. If I'm not going through anything and I feel like life is great and God is just showing up and showing out in my life, my prayer time might be longer. But I don't put a restraint on him or on my prayer time. And I was talking to my friend Keisha today because I was telling her, I was like, I have my prayer time in my closet. I say that's when I, intercede. I intercede for people in my prayer closet, and I read the word in my prayer closet. I do my devotionals, and I read my Bible. I'm, like I said many times before, I'm reading the Bible chronologically the whole way through. And so I do that in the mornings in my prayer closet. And I have this other book that I'm working on. It's about personal revival. And so I do some pages in that because it's kind of a workbook. You read some stuff and answer some questions. And so I do a little bit of that in the mornings in my prayer closet as well. But I also told her that really when me and God get one-on-one, when we in this thing, that it's usually when I'm in the shower. Because I'm going to lift up like whatever I'm thinking about personally, whatever's going on in my life. If it's something that I need confirmation about, if it's something that I'm questioning, something I'm not sure about, I'm going to usually bring it to him in the shower because I don't know why. I just feel comfortable and it's a quiet space. Usually my kids don't come bother me in the shower, at least not recently, not since they've gotten a little older. But so it's like it's still a space that I have that's private, that I don't have to worry about having distractions. And I'll talk to him. And I don't talk to him like, oh, Heavenly Father, thou art so good. I talk to him like Lord. So I was thinking about doing this. And you know how you said you wanted me to start a podcast, but I wasn't sure if that was you or me. And I just really need some confirmation on this podcast thing because that's how I talk to him. I don't talk to him like, oh, all the proper, how probably people think that you should come to God in prayer and stuff. I come to him in a conversation. I'm so sorry. Sorry. And that leads me to my next thing. It's about relationships. It's communication. I communicate with God all day, every day. In my book, I talk about, I go through, I don't even remember what chapter it's in now, but I go through, in prayer, just talking about how in the Bible it says to pray continuously. And I said it's not like being prostrate on the ground, praying to God every day, all day long. I said really what it is, coming to God and praying continually is thanking him in the morning when you wake up. It's praying over your food as you eat. It's giving him glory as you notice the sunrise. It's praying for patience as you deal with people on your commute to work. It's talking to him about a promotion that you might want when you see your boss, when you're interacting with your boss. It's like all those little things that you're keeping him attuned and in communication with you throughout the day, and you're including him in your life, and you're putting him where he's supposed to be anyway, in that top spot of your life. And so that's why I think that communication is key, because if we're reaching for him, if we're trying to draw near to him, if we're trying to be close to him and he's going to make that pivot and turn to us, that's how it's going to be. It's going to be because he sees that that's what we want, that what we want is to have a relationship with him. Because God is not going to force himself on us. He's not going to make us come to him. He is going to sit and wait for us to return to him, like it says in Zechariah 1:3. Or he's going to sit and wait for us to come near to him, like it says in James 4:8. And by the same token, like I said, if you draw near to him, he'll draw near to you. I don't even think that it's like you meet you in halfway 50-50, like you come to this point, I'll come to this point, we meet in the middle. No, I feel like if it's like you as soon as you return to him, he's Usain Bolting it to you. It makes me think of, if anybody who knows me knows that I love romantic comedies. I don't like thrillers because life is scary enough. I don't like serious dramas. Life is serious and dramatic enough. Give me a nice rom-com. Give me something fluffy and just lovable and just ooey gooey and sweet and all of that. And I'm here for it. Where like everything ends happily ever after and everybody gets what they want or whatever. That's the kind of movie I like. But one of the movies that me and my husband used to watch was Hitch. And so in Hitch, it's this part where Will Smith's character is telling, I can't think of the guy's name. My husband would know exactly his name, but it's the guy from King of Queens. He's telling his character about the 90-10 rule. And he's like, oh, at the end of the date, if you're going to kiss, if she's fiddling with her keys, then that means she wants to kiss. And you come 90% of the way, but you stop and you hold and you wait for her to come the other 10% of the way. I think that's kind of like how God is, except he just wants us to come that 10% of the way. And he going to Usain Bolt at that 90%. He is not going to leave us hanging. And so he's like, oh, you fiddling them keys? You striving? You searching for me? You want to have a relationship with me? You initiating this relationship with me? I'm coming. I'm going to meet you where you are. I'm going to reciprocate this with you. Another thing that I wanted to touch on as far as our relationship with God is that everything that can negatively affect your relationship with another human, whether that's a romantic relationship or a friendship or whatever the case may be, can negatively affect your relationship with God. Whether that's lying, if you're lying, like I don't know why we think we can lie to God, because he is all knowing, all seeing, all of the all, the God of the universe. And to think that you can lie to him is just crazy to me, but I'm guilty of it. I've tried it before. But like lying, whether that is a lack of communication, if you're not trying to get to know him, if you're not trying to speak with him and pray and go before him with prayer, or if you're monopolizing the conversation, if all you doing every day is going to him in prayer, but you don't open up your Bible to hear what he has to say to you, or you don't sit silently in meditation and see if he's placing something on your heart, or if he does place something on your heart, you completely go left field and ignore it and act like you didn't hear it from him. If all of those things are going on, that's not a good relationship. That's not a functioning relationship. Another thing that can negatively affect our relationship with God is taking him for granted. Like sometimes I know that you can take people for granted in your friendships. You can take people for granted in your marriage. You can take people for granted if you're just dating. You can take your kids for granted, your parents for granted, all of those. And so it's like, if you're feeling like, oh, this is just what you should be doing for me, that kind of thing. Like, oh, well, just can't, like you're rubbing the genie lamp, or you're treating him like your own personal genie instead of your one and true Lord and Savior who saved you and given the life. And his son has died on the cross and was buried and rose on the third day for the forgiveness of your sins. If you're like letting that all fall by the wayside, and instead you're just focusing on rubbing the lamp and trying to get him to do what you want to do, that's not going to work. Taking for granted that he knows I love him. Oh, he knows that I trust him. He knows that I'm, believing in him or whatever the case may be. But if you spend no time with him, how is that relationship going to work? In relationships, you have to spend time together. You can't take each other for granted. You have to be honest. You can't cheat. I'm going to talk about this. I don't know if it's next week or the week after, where we put idols up, and I think when we think of idols, we think of like statues that we're worshiping, and no, that's not the case. And so if we put in anything or anyone before God, that's them being an idol. And so when we're cheating on him, when we're putting somebody before him, that is not going to work. That can negatively affect our relationship with God. Another way that we can negatively affect our relationship with God is just that we just walk away. Is that we just, take him for granted, that we just give up, that we just throw our hands up and leave. And sometimes I think that another negative aspect of religion that is not talked about is religious people. And sometimes people who get stuck in the religion and don't move towards the relationship, and they stay in that place of legalism, and they think of like the rules and how people should act and how people should dress and how people should behave and where people should go and what they should do. And they want to take every opportunity to let you know that what you're doing and how you live and is not right. Those people can affect like if you're one of those people, you can affect somebody else's relationship with God because they will feel like, oh, well, this person is at church every Sunday. This person, is singing in the choir or on the deacon board or a part of the church board or a pastor or whatever the case may be. And they're telling me this, well, then this must be what God feels about me. This must be how God sees me. And that's not the case. And that's why so many people out here who are turning their backs on God because they have church trauma, not God trauma, church trauma. Trauma because people who have been in positions of leadership at a church are more concerned with religion than ushering somebody into a relationship with God. And it's like, how do you get somebody out of that? Like, how do you heal somebody from the negativity that they've experienced at church so that they can see that that person was just legalistic? They were just like the Pharisees, focused on like all the rules and checking all the boxes, but they have no relationship themselves, because it's no way that you can say you have a relationship with God and treat somebody and downgrade them and make them feel unwelcome, unwanted, and unloved by God. I feel like, and I've heard so many instances where, like I said before, I used to go to a church where when I was younger, I went to a church and like I would never wear stockings. I would always wear stockings. I would never be caught at church without with pants on and things like that. And I've seen situations where when I was growing up, people would come into church and it was like the old lady, the mothers of the church with their hats on and they handkerchiefs over their lap and they mints in their purse, and they would look down on those people judgmentally. And they would instead of welcoming them in and allowing God to do the work in that person's heart to get them to where they need to be, they want to feel like your first Sunday in there, they want to tell you how you shouldn't have came in here looking like this. And so I think that's one of the downfalls and the pitfalls of religion. If you never make that pivot, if you never jump off that diving board into a relationship, if you just stay there in religion, then you're going to get so haughty and full of yourself because you feel like, oh, well, every day that I'm here, I'm getting better and better at keeping these rules and focusing on like doing what's supposed to be done. And you're doing that so well that you just think that you're better than somebody else, that you're better than all these other people who are new in their relationship with God, and you now have no basis to see. I guess that scripture that says you can't even see the log in your own eye, and you're trying to get the speck out of somebody else's. And it's like that, like we have to move. That's why it's very important to move from religion to relationship, because it can not only affect you, but it can affect the people that you entertain, the people that you interact with. It can affect the people that meet you at church, because then we are the hands and feet of God. We are also the walking billboards of God. If you're on social media, if you're have WWJD stickers on your car, I don't even know if they still do that, but like if you're professing to be a Christian and that you love God and that you follow Him, but all you do is preach fire and brimstone at people and tell them what they're doing wrong, how is that helpful? How is that helpful to somebody? It's not. What you need to do is love. Jesus is love. And so what we got to do is we have to remember that to bring somebody in first, you have to love them. You have to earn a right. And I talk about this. I think I talk about this in my book, where you have to, was saying I desire to earn a right to witness to people. I don't walk up to somebody and feel like just because I have a relationship with God, or because I say that I'm a Christian, or I wrote a book, that I can come up to you and tell you what you should and should not be doing. No, I have to show up in your life and be the hands and feet of God and be there when you need me, and then earn a right to witness to you. But more than my witness, more than my testimony, my verbal testimony, what I can say to you, more than that, what will actually touch you is how I act, how you see me walk through life, how you see me interact with others, how I make you feel. All of that is going to affect affect people who are far from God to come to God. You are not going to win them over by telling them what they're doing wrong. You're just going to push them further away. And so I just wanted to take a minute. Now I'm going to jump down off my soapbox and back into the message. But the next thing I want to talk about is how we cultivate a relationship with God. Because a lot of times we talk about, oh, you have to have a relationship. It's all about having a relationship with God. You shouldn't do religion. It shouldn't be about religion. It should just be about a relationship with God. But nobody ever talks about how do you cultivate a relationship with God. And so I feel like the way you cultivate a relationship with God is the same way you cultivate a relationship with anybody else. If you're in a marriage, if you're dating, if you have a friendship, like I said before, you can't like all the things that I said, like, oh, things that can negatively impact your relationships with humans are the same things that can negatively impact your relationship with God. It's the same thing. The same way you would cultivate a true and lasting and healthy relationship with a spouse or a partner or a friend is the same way you would cultivate a true and honest and healthy relationship with God. And so some of the ways that you're going to do that is you have to get to know him. And how do you get to know him? You have to learn about his character. So you have to pick up this book. Because if you don't pick up this book, then how are you going to know who he is? How are you going to know what he believes, what he says, and how he functions? How are you going to know about his character and his love for you if you don't read it for yourself? You can go to church and you can, and I've said this before, watch this podcast every Sunday, and I hope you do. But if this is the only place you're getting your word from, it's not beneficial. You have to know what you know for yourself, just in case I say something that's way out of left field and you're like, God ain't say that. You need to know for yourself. Okay? So that's getting to know God. That's the way that you cultivate your relationship with him. Communicating with God is how you cultivate a relationship with him. That is going to him in prayer. And I always like kind of laugh to myself when people say, oh, I don't pray well. How are you supposed to pray? Like in the Bible, it says, pray like this, our Father who art in heaven. Yes. So if that's all you got, baby, that's all you need. Just pray like that. But what I love about my God is that I can say, Lord, right now, I'm just lost and I need you. I need you to step in right now and I need you to reveal yourself to me because I feel lost. And he's going to hear that. I didn't go before him and call him all the Jehovah Jirehs. And I didn't say how he was omnipresent and omnipotent. And I didn't quote scriptures from the Bible. I just spoke from my heart. And he hears it and he sees my heart and he responds in such. So go to him in prayer. It doesn't matter whether you feel like you can pray and wax poetically as you do so. All you have to do is go to him and be humble and be honest and have a willing and vulnerable heart and come to him. That's all you need to do. It doesn't have to be perfect in somebody else's eyes. I can understand people not wanting to pray in front of people because you feel a level of judgment. And it takes a level of confidence in God and in your relationship with him and in your surroundings as well. And comfortability in your surroundings as well to be able to pray out loud for some people. And so I can understand that. But if it's just you and God, baby, just talk. Just express yourself to him. That's all he wants. And he'll reciprocate. He will come to you in kind. So that's the second way. And the third way is to make him a priority. Nobody wants to be second fiddle. Nobody wants to be in a relationship with somebody where they're always the last resort, where they're always the last bandstand. Like they're always okay, I'm going to do this, everything else, and then I'm going to come to you. And so make God a priority in your life. That's how you cultivate a relationship with him. If you prioritize him, instead of putting him at the end of your day and just saying, oh, I'm going to pray right before I go to bed or I'm going to read right before I go to bed and every night before bed, you trying to pray and you trying to read, but you fall asleep every night. You have to know that don't work. So then you have to pivot and make him a priority. If that means you have to get up early in the morning, then get up earlier in the morning and spend the time with him. If that means that you have to turn off the TV 45 minutes earlier so that you can spend time with him so you won't be sleepy, then turn off the TV. If that means that you have to take your lunchtime and instead of sitting with your friends and then at lunchtime and gossiping about the what's going on in the office, that instead you go into your office and eat your lunch at your desk and read his word and pray to him during lunchtime, then do that. But prioritize him. Make him an important part of your life. And then don't let anybody take it away. Don't shortchange it for anybody. My husband knows God is the first thing I do in the morning. It's not like that's it. So he knows if I'm up and my feet hit the floor, just tell me bye. Don't ask me to cuddle. Don't ask me to stay 5 minutes longer. Just say, okay, I'll see you. Because I'm gonna go and spend time with my first love. So that's the way we cultivate our relationship with him. I hope you got something out of today's lesson. I hope that you saw the importance of transitioning from religion to relationship with God. And I hope that while doing so, that if you feel like you're not there yet, if you feel like you're still stuck in religion, or if you feel like you're not even there yet, if you feel like you're still trying to figure this God thing out, if you feel like you're still unsure or you have doubts, go to Him with your doubts, with your fears, with your uncertainty. That's who you should take it to. Don't take it to man. Don't take it to somebody else. Don't rattle it around in your own head. Take it to God. Take it to the source. And if you desire to have a relationship that is deeper, do those things to cultivate the relationship. Pray to Him. Spend time with Him. Prioritize Him. That's how you cultivate. Get to know Him. That's how you cultivate a relationship with God. And I hope that by doing so that you have a deeper love and devotion towards Him that will cause you to just not want to let Him down, to follow hard after Him. That's what I want. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next Sunday. Hey, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, comment below. And if you'd like to hear more, please subscribe. See you Sunday.